Finding out that my husband was cheating on me was a very small thing. The first time I saw him was when I was a friend of mine. And he suddenly took the initiative to give each person present a dish. Later, I heard him whispering a line from Roman Holiday in his study. I shook everyone's hand to shake yours. Humph. Xander and I both come from remote small towns. Top students from small towns. With hellish hard studying, we won the college entrance exams and finished our 211 undergraduate degrees and 985 master's degrees. After graduation, we both got into government jobs. Starting from the grassroots, one step at a time, in the rootless provincial cities slowly take root and extend. Nowadays, we were each promoted to become a department leader, have a decent social status, bought a car house, mortgage payments enough to cover the loan. In short, we have achieved success in the secular sense in the most traditional, fair, and least shortcut way of the Chinese people, and completed the mainstream value of the class leap. This year, Xander and I had two more happy events. The first is that at the beginning of the year, he was transferred to a leading position in a company and his salary was increased several times. The other was that I got pregnant. Yes. After 6 years of marriage, I got pregnant. Xander's family has 3 generations of low sperm count. So basically, after 30 years, there is no possibility of having any more children. Our journey over the past few years has been no easier than settling down and starting a family. Luckily, 2 months ago, in the first spring of Xander 3, I finally got pregnant. When I got the report, Xander, who rarely shows his emotions, hugged me. He cried tears of joy like a child. After years of struggling in the city, we have a few friends who get together regularly. Today was one of those occasions. When the table opened, everyone surrounded Xander and praised him for his youthful talent and the fact that he would soon be a deputy director. Xander laughed lightly. In the organization, he is famous for his pen and has always been highly valued. There is a sense of innocence in his body. Tyler and his wife are also here today, someone said. The crowd's face suddenly looked a bit odd. Tyler is Xander's hometown. 2 years ago to do contractor earned some money. The result of the addiction to gambling, not only lost all the family property, but also become credit blacklist. Every time we get together, we get ourselves drunk, cursing the sky and the earth, cursing the unfairness of society, and last time we fought with one of our old friends, and beat him up so much that he stayed in the hospital for half a month. I let him come. Xander put down his teacup and said in a faint voice, "After all, it is a friend for many years. Can't be a friend when people are down and out." The crowd saw him take a stance, and couldn't say anything, and nodded with a sarcastic smile. I frowned slightly. It's not because of anything else. But I'm pregnant right now. And Tyler smokes ferociously, one cigarette after another. And when I mention something to him, he gives me a sarcastic look like I'm a dog's eye view. I tried to talk to Xander, but I saw his gaze go to the door, as if he was expecting something. Bang! The door was pushed open vigorously. I shivered, only to see Tyler walking cursing. "Parking charge me 20. Why don't you fucking go rob?" Pointing behind him, he cursed. "You're a scumbag. What kind of woman doesn't help her man? But you're the one who's fucking going out on a limb." Behind him, a woman came in with her head down and fingerprints on her face. This is Tyler's wife Sophia. She's a gentle woman. But she's not so lucky to have a violent husband like Tyler. "What are you shouting for? Pay attention." Xander suddenly opened his mouth in a deep voice. His voice was very unpleasant. As soon as Tyler saw him, he immediately changed his face and was all smiles. "Brother. I'm sorry. I'm so grumpy. I didn't pay attention to the occasion again. They'll punish myself with 3 cups later," said he, greatly grinned on the table. Manipulated the chopsticks to clip peanuts to eat. Also do not care about the people behind. Sophia stood by the door in embarrassment. Her hand quietly stroked a strand of hair down, obviously trying to block her face. The crowd showed sympathy and deliberately averted their eyes so she wouldn't be embarrassed. I sighed and raised my voice. "Sophia, get seated. The food will be served in a moment." She smiles at me gratefully and walks in to sit next to Tyler. "Thank you, sister-in-law." After she said that, she crossed over to me and looked at Xander next to her and whispered, "Thank you, brother." Xander's face was slightly tense. He didn't say anything. During the meeting, Tyler again cursed and opened his voice. A mouthful of cigarettes, a mouthful of wine, and soon became as red as a shrimp. Sophia will help him peel shrimp. A moment to pour wine for him. He hardly ate. I was about to ask her to eat more. Xander suddenly stretched his chopsticks and gave a piece of fish to Tan, who was hosting beside him. Tan lost his smile. "I'm the host today. I should be the one to greet you. It's all the same." Xander finished in a faint voice, then stood up and gave a shrimp to the next in line. In that order, he gave everyone a chopstick of food or a bowl of soup. Everyone present was flattered. "What's wrong with Brother Sam today? The sun has come out of the west." "Yes. This is something we're not used to. It's because your sister-in-law is pregnant and Brother Sam is happy." Right. It's no wonder." I was a bit surprised. But after hearing everyone say that, I felt in my heart that it was indeed the case. Xander is introverted and not good at expressing himself. My pregnancy is great news for him and his entire family. His parents in his hometown were even more excited than when they first learned that he had passed the civil service exam. At this moment, I smiled and wanted to make fun of him. But I saw him raise his eyes slightly, and his gaze seemed to fall on the right front without thinking. I followed his gaze. Sophia lowered her head and took a spoon to drink her soup in small bites. Between the broken hair hanging down, a pair of almond eyes slightly reddened. Xander had just served her a bowl of chicken soup. I was in personnel work at my organization. In the matter of observing people, human relations, I am relatively more sophisticated and thorough than others. For example, I could tell at a glance. The starting point of Xander's unusual behavior today was to serve Sophia that bowl of soup. Why did Xander suddenly care so much about Sophia? I couldn't help but think back to 2 months ago. Tyler's father passed away, and Xander went back with him as an old-timer to offer his condolences and to see his in-laws. He was there for 5 days, and went with Tyler and his wife. Did something happen in the meantime? The sensitivity of my job has made me a habit of not jumping to conclusions. After all, objectively speaking, Xander was still good to me. We met by the artificial lake at the university. He was the earliest person to go to morning reading every day. I was the second. We are extremely similar. We came from a small place with a bad family background. 3 generations of people have been entrusted with the task of providing a model of honor and glory. So many years. The pressure and honor are focused on the body. All the way running dare not have half slack. It was as if I had finally found a companion. It was as if I realized I was not alone when I walked alone at the bottom of the sea where I couldn't see the sun. I think I mean the same thing to him. For what happened at the dinner table during the day, I didn't say a word. At night, he held me with unquenchable desire. Gracie, not yet? Well, it's not even 3 months yet. So let's wait. He heaved a few heavy breaths, got up and out of bed, and said breathlessly, "I'm going to take a cool shower." I was drifting off to sleep when he woke me up. He frowns. "Tyler is drunk again and is smashing things all over the house. I'll go check it out." "Who called you?" I asked. "His wife. She and the kids were crying on the phone. It seemed very serious." I looked at my cell phone. 11 o'clock. Too late. Don't go. If there's a real problem, she could have called the police. Besides, it's a family matter. You're not related to them. "Grace!" Xander suddenly stopped me in a gruff voice. I froze at his shout. His face was full of impatience, and there was a strange hint of sarcasm in his eyes. "When did you become so selfish? Now that you've had a better life, you just stand by and watch your own kind be unfortunate? It's not like you don't know Sophia's character. If she didn't have no other choice, she'd have come to me for help." "Grace, don't you feel ashamed for speaking so coldly to your friend?" I looked at him in dismay. As if I didn't know him. It's been a long time since I've had a fight with someone. Whether it was a co-worker, a family member, or Xander. I realized a long time ago that arguing doesn't solve problems. It only turns conversations into a clash of emotions and a gradual loss of sanity. Even arguing is a means to an end, not an end in itself. Anger hurts your body. It's your own body that gets hurt. At this moment, I closed my eyes and calmly asked him, "The days I have now are what I fought for step by step. Why should I feel ashamed because others are unfortunate?" Xander stood in front of the bed and looked at me coldly. "I'm really going to go today. During the night." I don't know when Xander came back. When I left for work, his shoes were on the doorstep. The door to the small bedroom room was closed. I had an organizational review meeting that day. It was important. Couldn't let him get involved in any emotions. This little strife was good for the evening. When I came back from work, there was a hot meal on the table. A cut fruit plate. There was also a birthday cake. He came out with a bowl of soup and smiled as if nothing had happened. "Just in time. Wash your hands and eat. I made your favorite fish with sauce." I lowered my eyes, slowly put my bag on the cabinet by the door, looked up, and smiled back. "Happy birthday." He snorted. 31 years old. Old man. At dinner, he said offhandedly, "Last night I went to train Tyler and came back. Afraid of waking you up. So I slept next door." I nodded and didn't say anything. When I got up after eating, I remembered something and turned my head to him and said, "I haven't been sleeping very well lately. Why don't you sleep in the small bedroom first?" He froze for a moment. For the next few days, Xander and I resumed our quiet life. I was busy with the interviews and onboarding process for the new staff at my organization, and he was busy launching a new project for the company. It was as if nothing had happened. We are both more sensible than emotional. We all examine the pros and cons of everything we do. I thought, this is probably the benefit of being married to a rational person. But soon, I realized I was wrong. My brother Guan called me out of the blue. He was 6 years younger than me, had just graduated with a master's degree, and was looking for a job. He first said a bunch of useless things before asking, "Sis, how are you and your brother-in-law doing?" I wondered, "What is it that you want to talk about?" After he finished stammering, a wave of anger gradually spread in my heart. Guan read the materials engineering. These years. His school this specialty. As long as the tendency to stay in the city. Almost all 100% were absorbed into the Xander now in charge of the enterprise. But Guanfeng says he was brushed off during the interview. The reason was that the higher-ups didn't pass. Sis. Of the 8 in our class who stayed in the city, I was the only one who was rejected. So I wondered if my brother-in-law's side had something else in mind. After hanging up the phone and adjusting my emotions, I immediately called Xander. He didn't pick up. 10 minutes later, he called. Which point of Guanfeng does not meet the recruitment conditions of your company? I asked. He was stunned for 2 seconds on the other end of the phone and spoke slowly. Ching ching. There's nothing he doesn't meet. Then why didn't he pass? Well, the thing is like this. This time the leadership team wanted to recruit someone with social experience. So there was one less establishment. After comprehensive consideration, it was indeed my initiative to take Guanfeng's name off. I'm new to the post not long ago, and recruiting my own brother-in-law as soon as I arrive is always going to make people gossip about my favoritism. Ching ching. You should understand. I don't understand. I interrupted him. Guanfeng read the profession in the front. You transferred in the back. Even if it is not you to do management. He is 100% into that business. There is no such thing as favoritism. Besides, you said that the leadership team wanted to recruit people with social experience, so there was one less establishment. You are the vice president in charge. Isn't this what you proposed? Xander was silent for a few seconds and his tone went cold. Grace. You are also doing personnel work. I did not expect such immaturity at the critical moment. Anyway, this matter has been decided. Not you can change it by being a jerk. He hung up the phone. I covered my stomach and bent over with a throbbing pain. Guanfeng entered the university. To enter this industry as the goal of a large state-owned enterprises. I did not expect me as his sister. Not only did not give him a life goal to help, but because of this brother-in-law, pulling him back. I have a hard time in my heart. Xander and I began a cold war. But his attitude this time seemed unusually resolute. Even disregarding my pregnant mood. Without the slightest intention to back down or soften. Guanfeng in turn comforted me. Sis. Don't blame your brother-in-law. He must have difficulties when he's new to the business. I'm young anyway. There's no harm in going to another company to get some experience. 2 days later, when my colleagues and I were having dinner outside, we accidentally bumped into Sophia. She was eating with a few men and women, speaking her hometown dialect, thinking it was a hometown party. Seeing me, she pursed her lips and walked over with a man. Sister-in-law. What a coincidence. I smiled and nodded. Yes. What a coincidence. The man beside her smiled at me. Auntie told me that you are Mrs. Sue. I specially came over to say hello. I am an employee under him. I asked politely. Hello. Which department are you from? He said with a smile. I'm one of the new recruits in this batch. And am still in my internship. This time thanks to Mr. Sue. Originally the company is never recruited non-freshmen. If it is not my aunt and uncle to find him to help make an exception, I have no chance at all. I lowered my eyes and didn't say anything for a while. Sophia spoke in a thin voice. Wait for one day. Tyler and I will ask you and brother Sam. The 4 of us will have a meal together. Okay, sister-in-law? The soup bowl on the table, congealed with a layer of white grease, making people tedious and disgusting. I slowly raised my eyes and smiled. I'd like to have a meal with you, sister-in-law. At 10 o'clock in the evening, when Xander walked in, I was leaning on the bed reading a book. The party office had organized a reading and sharing session, and I had chosen selected works of Mao. He reached out and handed me a wad of money. Guanfeng has just graduated and has to rent a room outside. So you can give him this 5,000 as a little sponsorship from me as his brother-in-law. I swept my eyes at the money in his hand. No need. Xander's eyebrows were saved up. After a few seconds of silence, he said with a bit of forbearance, Grace, you're not still hung up on the interview, are you? I now have a little power. But precisely because of this power, step by step like thin ice, why can't you sympathize with me? I closed the book. No need means that Guanfeng does not need to rent an apartment. He bought a house. Xander froze, showing surprise. Bought a house? Where did Guanfeng get the money to buy a house? Your family is just your parents' little retirement pay. Didn't you say before that they've been looking forward to him graduating and going to work? I suddenly looked up and stared at him in silence. He suddenly met my eyes. Realized what? Expression a little unnatural. Cleared his throat before he said, he has a master's degree. Even if he can't get into this company, he can always get a job. Alas. Gracie, we are husband and wife. Is the world's closest people. You are still pregnant. Do not be angry with me for this matter. Okay? How can he have money to buy a house if you take this money to him? I didn't. But I borrowed 300,000 from him. And now that housing prices are going down, it's the perfect amount of money to put down on a small, second-hand apartment. I explained in an unusual tone. What did you say? Xander looked incredulous. You gave him 300,000? Grace. How could you tell me something so important without authorization? I leaned back on the bed and looked at him crookedly. Xander, have you been working too hard lately? Why can't you hear me clearly? What I just said was clearly borrowing, not giving. Also, isn't this the same thing as your sister's divorce 2 years ago when you took $300,000 to buy her a house and only told me about it afterward? How can it be the same? He's got an ugly face. How can it be different? My sister was kicked out of her in-laws' home and had nowhere else to go. And then I asked you for your opinion and you agreed. Guanfeng, he just graduated at a young age. And buying a house is not a matter of much urgency. I nodded slowly. Yes. Originally Guanfeng smoothly into the job. Can live in the state-owned enterprise staff dormitory. Indeed not in a hurry to buy a house. But now he was brushed down. There is nowhere to live. So he simply advanced the plan to buy a house. As for being AWOL, am I not asking for your permission right now? Xander was stupefied. His mouth opened, wanting to say something but half saying nothing. Xander, I can sympathize with your sister. Can't you sympathize with my brother? Or do you think I don't have the right to do this in this family? I looked at him quietly. 3 years in love. 6 years as a couple. I know him well. The natural part of his character allows him to face unexpected situations when his emotions are at first truly exposed. The acquired part of his character allows him to quickly calm down and make rational judgments in a short period of time. The money had been given. The matter was settled. And evidently there was a cause for what had happened. That cause started with him and was amplified by me. Fair enough. The bedroom fell silent for a moment. Xander stood in front of the bed, his demeanor changing a few times before returning to its original state, even containing a hint of a forgiving smile. Of course. Gracie, you naturally have the right to be the head of this household. Guanfeng is your own brother, and is not an outsider. It's only right that we borrow money for his life's events. The corner of my lips curved up. And I said in a harmonious voice, well, I'm a little tired and I'm going to sleep. You also have an early night. He walked out the door in silence. turned around again when he reached the door, and spoke in a deep voice. "There's one more thing to tell you. Tyler and his family want to invite us for dinner. If you don't want to go, they'll go by myself. If you don't want to go, they'll go by myself." Tyler invited family dinner. When Xander and I arrived, he was on the balcony with his back turned, answering the debt collector's phone in a low voice. His 9-year-old son TJ opened the door. He didn't call out when he saw us and entered the room with a cold face. Holding his cell phone, Tyler turned around in frustration and saw us coming over to greet him. He cursed Sophia, who was coming out of the kitchen with hot soup, and scolded her for not realizing that the guests had arrived. Sophia shuddered at the scolding and the hot soup splashed on her hands, instantly turning them red. Xander heavily placed the gift on the table and said gruffly, All right. I came to your house to eat, not to see you scolding a woman." Sophia bit her lip and squeezed out a smile. "I'm fine. He's in a bad mood. I won't lose a piece of meat if I let him vent a few words." Xander glanced at her hand, his face grim. I was slightly puzzled, not understanding why Xander was so concerned about her hand. Sophia is a hardworking and capable woman. One person was busy in and out, cooking a large table. During the meal, Xander didn't seem to be able to hold back and gave Tyler a lecture. People serve you with good food and drink every day. Don't take blessings for granted. And don't ever do it again. This is domestic violence. People can sue you. You know? Tyler nodded repeatedly while drinking. Sophia, however, bared her teeth. Forget about it. A man works hard outside and is under a lot of pressure, so he can't help but do it. Besides, if he doesn't take it out on his nearest and dearest, who else can he take it out on? I'm at home every day to serve him well, to live a good day. Everything will be fine. I was looking down at my soup when I suddenly looked up at those words, and for a moment I couldn't believe my ears. But I heard Xander beside me, a few inaudible low sigh. The sigh was vaguely touching. Tyler had already drank quite a bit, and at this time, with a smug look on his face, he said with a big tongue, "Brother, although she is not as capable as sister-in-law, but in the aspect of serving people, sister-in-law can't compare to her. The bed that is even made you. Tyler, if you've had too much to drink, go to bed." Xander stopped him with a stern voice. Sophia's face turned red and she was so ashamed that she didn't know what to say. She met Xander's eyes in a panic, and awkwardly searched for a topic to talk about. Brother Sam, I have to thank you for my distant nephew. If it wasn't for you. You remembered wrongly. Xander interrupted her with a harsher voice, his face tight. How would I know your nephew? You're confused. Sophia froze, her face blank, as if she didn't understand the sudden change in his attitude. The air was quiet for a moment. I laughed and opened my mouth to break the ice. Sophia, not only do you have to thank him, you also have to thank me. After all, your nephew's exception to the rule was given up by Xander after he brushed my brother off. Sophia's eyes widened as soon as these words came out of her mouth. Xander's chopsticks froze in midair. On the way home, I didn't say a word. When I entered, I went straight into the bedroom to pack my bags. Xander sat alone in the living room for a while before slowly walking in with heavy feet. He stood by the door, his voice deep and slow. Grace, there is a misunderstanding in this matter. I hope you will not be impulsive to listen to my explanation. I guarantee that what I say below is true. I didn't say anything, didn't look at him, and folded the clothes in my hands without hesitation. Guan Feng thing. I admit I have selfishness. Just transferred to the company. So many pairs of eyes looking at. I must be cautious step by step. But if I come before the foot after the foot brother-in-law into the company. Know the inside story of the people, do not say anything. Do not know the inside story. Or simply do not care about the inside story? They will only seize the results to make a big fuss. So my selfishness is to eliminate this possibility from the root, so as not to fall into the mouth of the truth. As for Sophia's relative, it was purely a coincidence that the place was vacant anyway. So I thought I might as well do it as a favor. Of course, this place is very sought after. Why give Sophia? Because I sympathize with her. Speaking here, his voice suddenly became heavy. That time and their two families back to their hometown. I witnessed Tyler, her mom, to her move to abuse and even hands. Alas. I thought of my sister. I zipped up my suitcase and prepared to push it out. Xander clutched my hand. Gracie, don't be impulsive, okay? I admit that I let Guanfeng suffer in this matter. So I have no second thoughts about you lending him money. Don't I? After so many years of relationship. You are still pregnant. Just because of this one thing should I be sentenced to death? He said here. His voice choked. The end of the eyes also red. Except for that time when I was pregnant. I hadn't seen him so emotional in years. I slowly broke my hand free. My voice as calm and unruffled as ever. I'm going to training. He looked at me with red eyes, gauging my expression, trying to determine the truth of what I was saying. Training? I didn't hear you say anything about training. I dropped my eyes and pulled out my cell phone to show him. There was a management training conference notice on it. At the city's alma mater. He froze, still hesitant to ask. Didn't you tell me before that you weren't going to participate in any training after you got pregnant? Why do you suddenly want to go again this time? People's thoughts always change. I want to participate again. I looked at him expressionlessly. I drove myself to my alma mater hotel. Reported and checked in to kick off the 4-day training session. On the first day, Xander gave me 9 phone calls and a dozen droning tweets. None of which I answered. None of which I returned. The next day, he sent a tweet. Said Guanfeng to buy a house still have to decorate. He just sent 50,000 quarterly bonus can sponsor. The money has been called Guanfeng. I still didn't reply. The third day, he said, Sophia's distant nephew, because of the internship assessment, failed to be persuaded to leave, is arranging to notify the unsuccessful personnel into the job. The fourth day, he asked if he needed to pick me up. I said yes. Guanfeng came to see me once on purpose after he was inducted. Our siblings were very affectionate. When he was 5 or 6 years old, he would cry and stand in front of me when I was being bullied by the upper grades and say, "Sister, you run first." He was very worried about me in this incident. Sis, did you have a fight with your brother-in-law? I shook my head. No. You know, your sister has never been good at arguing. He wrinkled his eyebrows. But brother-in-law, why did he suddenly change his mind? He also took the initiative to give me money. I always feel that my heart is difficult to settle. Sister, if I affect your relationship because of me, I would rather not have this job. I patted his head. Silly boy. What's so hard to be at peace with? What you got is what you should have gotten originally. And now, it's just that everything is restored to the status quo ante. As for that money, well, consider it compensation. It's normal. Guanfeng's tone is serious. Sis, don't worry. I will definitely return that money to you. And never let anyone say that you are overly supportive, sister. I lost my smile. But how on earth did you do it? Brother-in-law is not the kind of person who will change his mind easily. I told him gently. There are many ways to solve a problem. You don't have to tear your face off and make a scene. Black cat. White cat. The one that catches the mouse is a good cat. Right? A month has passed and nothing has changed in my life and Xander's. In fact, from start to finish we didn't flip out or fight over the matter. And all the different expressions were controlled within the framework and rhythm of daily life. It was as if a problem had appeared and disappeared without notice. Xander reduced his contact with Tyler and never mentioned Sophia. As if he had suddenly cut off contact with the two of them. He commuted to work every day. And took care of my pregnancy in a thoughtful and considerate way. After the 3rd trimester, I had a big appetite. He began to take my daily diet seriously again. The days seemed happy and peaceful. Except for 2 little things. The first was that I found a gold store receipt for $28. $888 in his shirt pocket. I took a picture of it and went to the store. The clerk showed me the photo and it was a gold bracelet. I remember your husband. When he bought it, he said he wanted to surprise his wife. You guys are so happy. The second one happened last week. I had a problem with my car and had it repaired at a Ford store. Xander was driving me around for a few days. It was pouring rain that day. I waited for him at the appointed intersection for 40 minutes. And his phone was always on hold. By the time he arrived, I was half wet. Why don't you know how to take a taxi? It was raining and I couldn't get a cab. I sneezed. But yesterday, when I went to my friend's cake store to buy dessert, my friend told me, the day of the rainstorm, your husband's car parked in front of my store. Parked for almost an hour. I thought no one was in the car. But then the car suddenly started to go. To make half a day people in the car to call it. I was stunned. What time was it? It was 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. I turned around and looked at the front of the store. It was just around the corner from the intersection where I waited for him. In other words, that day, while I waited for him for 40 minutes in the wind and rain, he was sitting in his car, just around the corner from me, talking on the phone. What's so urgent that you can't even drive forward a little bit? Later that night, I heard him watching Roman Holiday in his study, whispering a line under his breath. I shook everyone's hand to shake yours. He squinted slightly as he said this. An indefinable shade of color rippled across his face. I thought back to the 4th day of training at my alma mater. That day, I went to the artificial lake and stayed alone for a long time. Looking at the sparkling lake, I hesitated and wandered. In the middle of the day, I got a call from my mom. Gracie, Mom can't take care of you because of her bad leg. You need to stay in a good mood when you are pregnant. Eat as much as you can. And remember to do everything for the baby. Mom had just hung up when my mother-in-law called. Gracie, you need to replenish your body. Xander's father and I are going to take care of you. I will prepare what you want to eat in advance. Meanwhile, as if by appointment, Xander tweets, asking if I want him to pick up. I flipped up the tweets one by one, rubbing my stomach. Before leaving the artificial lake. Returned well. Xander had his good points. Smart. Down to earth. Able to work hard. And willing to persevere for a goal. More crucially, promising. That is crucial. As for the cons, I used to think it came mainly from the original character. Such as selfishness, impatience, vanity. But it's human nature. And I have it too. It's not enough to get in the way of life. As long as it's reasonably manageable and rational. But now, I think maybe there's an extra layer to consider. After all, circumstances have changed. For the first time in his life, he stood at a height he had never reached before. A new environment creates new problems. New problems require new solutions. In life, we're all crossing the river by touching the stones. It's just that I didn't expect it. The twists and turns and magnificence of fate unfold in an unexpected way. Caught off guard. Came with a vengeance. The day before I got my car back, I went to a meeting at the City Women's Federation. Since the meeting was adjourned early, I took a taxi home by myself. On the viaduct, the car was rear-ended by a truck so violently that the body rolled continuously and hit the bridge abutment before coming to a forced stop. I fainted when I saw the driver was struggling to escape. I do not know how long. A piece of noise and clamor. I opened my eyes again in a daze. It was a mess outside and several cars had suffered. But mine was the worst. I felt a vague pain in my stomach. As I panicked, an ambulance arrived with sirens blaring. Through the glass window, my cab driver spoke to the paramedics and pointed his finger in this direction, and the paramedics immediately rushed to my side. I had just dropped my heart when I suddenly saw Xander. He stopped the paramedics. Looking serious, he spoke loudly. A powerful voice reached my ears. "Save the child first. I demand that you save the child first." Behind him is an anxious Sophia. TJ is wailing in her arms, with blood on his calf. When I woke up, I was lying in the hospital. The doctor spoke gently to me. "Luckily you were safety conscious and wore your seatbelt. Just a little trauma on your forehead. You'll be fine now that you're awake." "Where's the baby?" I touched my stomach. "Not a big problem. Pay attention to observation." I was silent for a while, and asked, "The injured in this accident all sent here?" "Right." After the doctor left, I got out of bed, looking along the wards one by one. Finally, in the ward in the far corner, saw the person I was looking for. On the bed, TJ was asleep with one foot in a cast. Sophia is sitting on the side wiping her tears. Pathetic. Sen. It's a good thing there's you today. Otherwise in that situation, I really don't know what to do. Xander stood beside her, and with a stoic expression, he reached out his hand to touch her head. But he didn't move because he was afraid of something. So he froze in midair. Sophia saw his hand and blushed slightly. After a while, her low voice rang out. "Sen, you're so good to me. I'm willing." Xander's lips pursed tightly. "What are you polite for? We are all friends. We should do it." Sophia drops her head, revealing the back of her white neck. Her voice soft as water. "No. No one has ever been so good to me. Brother Sam. I remember it all in my heart. That time I asked you if you could help my nephew with a trial and error mentality. And you agreed in one breath. I never thought that you would even put me before my sister-in-law. Although this is not good. But I am really touched. That day when it was raining heavily, I was just a little bit scared. You didn't even open the car. Parked in the middle of the road, just stayed with me and talked for an hour. And today, there was an accident. I didn't know who to look for, so I called you. I didn't expect you to come so quickly. I had a bad fate. My family was patriarchal when I was a child. And Tyler beat and scolded me after I got married. So this is the first time I've ever had the feeling of being pampered," she said, holding Xander's hand and putting it on her face. Xander didn't resist. "Sen, I actually always remember the night 2 months ago. We were traveling from Tyler's hometown in the mountains to the county. Tyler was huffing and puffing in the passenger side, and you and I were squeezed out of our places by our luggage and had to stay close to each other. I could tell right away that you were holding back. And I knew that it must have been a long time since your sister-in-law was pregnant you. So I reached out and used my hand. I remember. Xander suddenly spoke. The night in the mountains is very dark. Your hands are very white. I have never seen such white hands. Sophia even more shy. Sin brother. I just help you so once. I did not expect you to be so good to me. I really feel bad. Xander was silent for a split second and said in a mute voice, "One time is better than many times." When my in-laws called me, I had just returned to the hospital room from the operating table. When they learned that I was injured in the hospital, they came straight from the train station, looking at my red eyes, pale face, mother-in-law voice trembling. The child will not. I lay weakly on the bed and cried out in pain. Dad, Mom, the child is gone. The doctor said that if I had come 5 minutes earlier, the child could have been saved. But the first ambulance was stopped by someone. They took the ambulance and took away my child's life-saving time. The father-in-law roared with red eyes. Who is it? Who killed my grandson? I want them to pay for their lives. I cried so much that I fainted. I heard the nurse tell me what happened later. My in-laws found out what happened and rushed to Sophia's hospital room. Xander wasn't there at the time and was out buying food for her mother and son. When he came back with dumplings, he saw his parents, who were holding Sophia on the floor and slapping her face. And no one could pull her back. Sophia couldn't move. Her face was swollen and disfigured, and there was a continuous hissing sound coming out of her mouth. The mother-in-law looked up, saw her son standing in the doorway, and let out a shocking cry. Son! It is this woman's child who has robbed your daughter-in-law of her ambulance. There goes your son. Xander's eyes widened and the bowl in his hand slipped. The steaming dumplings tumbled to the ground. As I lay in the hospital bed in a coma, my in-laws learned that the man who stopped the ambulance was actually their son. And after slapping Xander hard a few times, they tilted their heads and let out a long sigh. It's all life. They discussed and decided in their grief that they must not let me know about this. Otherwise, I would hate him to death. So when I woke up and saw the muddled Xander, sobbing that he had not protected the child, he could only half kneel on the ground in pain and shame, silently leaving 2 lines of hot tears. I spent a few days in the hospital before returning home to recuperate. My in-laws came with great anticipation and left sadly. When they left, they were full of pity for me. If the Sioux family is doomed to extinction, there's nothing anyone can do about it. It's just that you've been wronged. For the next month, Xander took care of me in every way. Originally busy with his work, he devoted all his time outside of work to me, and was more dedicated to me than a real menstrual cycle. Most of the time, I was lying in bed, eating his handmade monthly meals or watching selected works of Mao. I slowly recovered from his waning days. I was visited by unit leaders and Women's Federation representatives. I was out for a meeting and had a car accident during working hours. A work-related injury. The head of the unit was a woman, and she empathized with what I was going through. She stood by my bedside and comforted me with kind words. Grace, don't worry about work. Don't have any burden. The unit up and down to your work attitude and dedication in the eyes. This annual evaluation, you have the highest number of votes. I was touched. Thank you to the leadership. Thank you, colleagues. I will certainly live up to the expectations of the future work. Get well. There will be more opportunities to play your role in the future. After the female leader and her team left, I leaned on the bed and closed my eyes to meditate. Xander walked in and asked me in a warm voice, Gracie, What kind of soup would you like today? I opened my eyes and thought. Ribs and lotus root soup. Okay. They'll go to the market now and buy some fresh ones. Looking at Xander's back as he disappeared out the door, I picked up selected works of Mao by my bedside and read the notes word for word under my breath. To fully utilize your own initiative and break down the barriers in your way. Turn disadvantages into advantages. Turn disadvantages into advantages. When I was almost fully recovered, Tyler and Sophia came to visit me. I was gentle and kind to Sophia. She had averted her eyes when she saw me. As I spoke, my eyes glanced and landed on her wrist. Sophia, that's a beautiful gold bracelet you have. Expensive, isn't it? Tyler snorted. Where did she get the money to buy real gold? It's a fake she bought herself from a stall outside. It's not worth much. Sophia showed a hint of panic and said in a loud voice. Yes, yes, yes. A few $dozen to buy. I just look bright. Bought to bring to play. I remembered something. Smiled and took my cell phone to flip out the photo. You see, this bracelet is Xander secretly bought ready to give me a surprise. If not, I found the receipt in his clothes. I still do not know. Tyler's eyes glistened. Yo. You this really? Right. How much? The receipt said. $28,800. I smiled and said. But you guys have to keep it a secret from me. He has not given me. Said here. I suddenly paused. Huh. How is this a bit similar to this one in Sophia's hand? Tyler came over and squinted his eyes. It's kinda exactly the same. Sophia barely managed to squeeze out a smile. Probably imitating the same style. Nowadays fake goods are made according to the real ones. I smiled. Yes. How can you buy the real thing at the stalls? Tyler looked at the cell phone photo, turned his head and then looked at Sophia's wrist. Slightly sank his eyebrows. I opened my mouth to gossip again. Sophia, it's rare that you come to chat with me. I've been suffocating at home for a while. Hey, do you remember the couple across the street from my house? They sold their house and left. Sophia reluctantly asked. Huh? Why? I shook my head and sighed. The man at the door, and other people's wives cheating, was caught on the spot by their husbands. In order to put things to rest, had to lose a large amount of money. Even the house is sold. Tyler sat on the sidelines and said nothing for half a day. After I started to work, Xander's state is getting more and more depressed day by day. This premature death of the child, a huge blow to him. He forced a smile in front of me, but more often than not, he looked at a place alone and stared blankly, as if he had lost his vitality. Tyler suddenly began to ask him out for drinks more often. At first, he was afraid that I would mind and refused all of them. I said to him heartbreakingly, "Nothing, you go. This period of time is not good for everyone. A friend to talk. Relaxation is good." He looked at me and was touched. Gracie, nowadays medicine is so advanced. When you get well, you will definitely have another chance to have a child in the future. I nodded my head. Yes. I will definitely have children again. He may be lying to me, but I definitely wasn't lying to him. After all, the doctor told me that my body recovered well this time, and it would not affect future conception at all. The female leader was true to her word. After resuming work, she began to reuse me. Grace. At work, women do have a lot of disadvantages compared to men. But as long as we work hard, as long as we are willing to work hard, we will not do worse than them. I became more and more serious about my work and grasped my own career opportunities. One night, I was about to fall asleep when Xander suddenly opened his mouth with a hard look on his face. Tyler was drunk on the beat again. And this time both actually called me at the same time. Gracie. If you need me to stay with you. I'm not going. You go. I said to him seriously. Hurry up and go. It's not good if something happens. In the middle of the night that day, I was sleeping in a daze and was woken up by the commotion outside the house. I got up and went out, and was shocked to see Tyler actually sitting in the living room with a big grin on his face. Sister-in-law. You sleep on your own. They'll accompany brother Sam back to get something, and leave after I get it. Tyler was hitching his leg and had a hangdog look on his face. Puzzled. I went to the study. I ran into Xander coming out. He was dressed in a mess. His hair was disheveled, and there were surprisingly clear handprints on his face. Xander. What happened? He panicked and the money in his hands spilled all over the floor. Nothing. Nothing. I accidentally knocked over someone's stall when I was driving. They'll take some money and let Tyler compensate them. Don't worry. When Tyler took the money and left, his eyes glanced at Xander, shaking the cell phone in his hand, and said in an uncertain manner, Brother, they'll take this much first. Let's talk about it later if it's not enough. Okay? Xander's jaw twitched. Hurry up and go. They all said it was fine. So I went back to the house and went to sleep. I slept until dawn. Half a year later, I was reporting to the leaders when I suddenly received a call from the police. The caller only said that I should go to the police station, but did not say what the matter was. The leaders shouted for someone from the labor union to accompany me. When I arrived at the police station, the police told me that my husband, Xander, had been in a fight with someone, and one of them had cut off the other's ear. I was at a loss. Who cut who? Xander cut Tyler's ear. The cop repeated himself and gave me the full story. It turns out that the night of Tyler domestic violence Sophia 6 months ago, Xander went to his house to talk him out of it. And both of them got drunk later. Tyler woke up in the middle of the night to find himself lying in the living room while his wife's ambiguous moans were coming from the bedroom. He walks in and finds Xander heaving on top of Sophia, and is instantly enraged, rushing up to pluck the two men, who are unaware of heaven and earth, apart, and holding Xander down and beating him up. In order to silence Tyler, Xander was forced to promise Tyler a sum of money. That's why I ran into them in the middle of the night. But Tyler was in debt. Couldn't he get rid of it with a sum of money? In the next 6 months, Tyler blackmailed Xander with the video taken by his cell phone and asked for more than $1.8 million one after another. I was surprised. No way. Where did he get $1.8 million? The net loan. Xander himself account. He borrowed from a variety of platforms more than $1 million. This time, Tyler actually again, looking for him to ask for $500,000. He was impulsive. In Tyler's home to take the kitchen knife, rushed up to cut the person's ear. I sat in a daze, unable to catch my breath for a long time. The union man patted my shoulder sympathetically. Chief Guan, you must hold on. Tyler was sentenced to 10 years in prison for committing the crime of huge extortion. Xander was expelled from the public service for serious violation of discipline, and was also sentenced to 1 year in prison for intentional injury. I divorced Xander in prison. I didn't know about his loans, so I had nothing to do with the debt. On the day I signed the divorce papers, I saw him for the first time after several months. Had lost an incredible amount of weight and seemed like a different person. There were no tears of pain as expected. He sat there indifferently, his expression wooden and dull. When he saw me, his body shook and his head hung down deeply. It hung so low that it assumed a bizarre human posture. The whole time, he was shaking slightly. I was calm and indifferent. When it was time to say goodbye, he suddenly called out to me. I turned to look at him. His gaze revealed a hint of confusion. You say, why is human fate so strange? Obviously not long ago. I was still standing on a high place. Spirited. How can I suddenly change my appearance? Tell me, Grace, why is that? I gazed at him calmly. Xander, you have forgotten the beginning. You have forgotten the way you came. And you have come to this day. And every step was chosen by yourself. So ask yourself if you really don't know. When I got back to my workplace, my colleagues congratulated me and told me that my application for a temporary assignment had been approved. 2 months ago, because of Xander's affair, made a big fuss. I approached the leader to apply, sincerely expressing my desire to work in a different environment for a period of time, and hoped to have the opportunity to go down to the district and county for temporary assignment. I stepped in a steady pace, ready to go to the leadership to express my gratitude. On the way, I received a video call from my doctor. After that surgery, I sought her counseling from time to time for a quick recovery and slowly became friends. I found an empty conference room and went in to answer it. After a few moments of video chat, she said, Grace, I am now shocked when I think back to your surgery that day. 1 second you were worried about the safety of the baby, and the next second you found me and said you wanted to initiate an abortion. You are so... Where did you get the courage? I smiled and said, I admire my current leader. She has a sentence I always remember. She said that women are weak, but once the courage to throw yourself, it is unstoppable. Hang up the phone, a turn of the head. Found the leader is standing in the door of the conference room. I suddenly realized what. My body slightly tense. She pondered for a moment. I heard you were looking for me. And I happened to be looking for you. So I came over. I nodded. Yes, leader. My approval came down, and I was heading to you to express my gratitude. She was silent for a few seconds and looked at me, slowly spreading a smile. Grace, I was worried that you would not be able to cope with many situations when you went down this time. But now, I am relieved. Do a good job for 2 years, and I'll wait for you to come back and show off your skills. I suppressed my inner excitement and smiled at her. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to do that.